The sky was slowly turning dark. Clouds hung low, and the wind had picked up. People were walking quickly, trying to finish their errands before the rain began. In the corner of a small-town parking lot, a motorcycle came to a stop. The biker switched off the engine and pulled off his helmet. His long hair dropped over his shoulders, and a thick beard covered his face. He wore a heavy leather jacket with patches, the kind that made people look twice and stay away. He got off his bike and walked toward the diner. His stomach growled, and his head hurt from a long ride. All he wanted was a hot meal and a quiet booth. But just before he reached the door, he stopped. He heard something. It was faint, almost like a whisper. A soft, shaky sound, crying. He looked around. There, behind a row of dumpsters, something moved. He stepped closer, careful not to scare whoever it was. As he turned the corner, he saw her. A little girl, maybe 6 or 7. Her face was streaked with tears, and her knees were scratched. She had no shoes on, and her hair was messy like she'd been running for a long time. She hugged a small stuffed rabbit, its fur dirty and worn out. The biker crouched slowly so he wouldn't tower over her. "Hey there," he said gently. "You okay?" The girl looked up and froze. Her eyes grew wide. She didn't speak. Her lips trembled. She held the stuffed toy tighter. Her tiny body shook, not just from the cold, but maybe also from fear. Maybe people had warned her about men who looked like him. "It's okay," he said again, his voice calm. "I won't hurt you. I promise. Are you lost?" She blinked and nodded. Slowly, the biker looked around. The street was still busy, but no one had noticed her. People passed by, too focused on their own lives. He took off his jacket and gently laid it over her shoulders. "You cold? Here, this will help." The jacket swallowed her whole, but she didn't push it off. Her eyes stayed on him, studying him, like she wasn't sure if she should trust him. He opened a side pocket on his bike and pulled out a small bottle of water and an unopened granola bar. "Here," he said. "You need to drink something." The girl hesitated, then reached out. Her fingers were dirty. Her hands shook as she held the bottle. She drank slowly, still watching him. "What's your name?" he asked. She didn't answer. "Okay, no problem," he smiled. "Do you know where your mom is?" That question made her lip quiver again. Her eyes filled with fresh tears. She shook her head hard. "I was with her at the store. Then she told me to wait outside, but I walked too far. I couldn't find her again. I was scared." The biker nodded. "I get it. You did the right thing by staying put. We'll find her, all right?" The girl sniffled and wiped her nose with her sleeve. He stood up slowly. "Wait right here, okay? I'll go inside that diner and ask if anyone saw your mom. I'll be back in 2 minutes. I promise." She looked like she wanted to say something, but just nodded. The biker took her stuffed rabbit and showed it gently to her. "Mind if I take your bunny, so they believe me?" She hesitated, then handed it over. The biker stepped into the diner. Warm lights, clinking plates, and chatter filled the room. People turned to look at him. Some stared longer than needed. He walked up to the counter and spoke to the waitress. "Sorry to bother you, but there's a little girl crying outside by the dumpsters. She's lost. Do you know if anyone's been looking for her?" The waitress blinked, confused. Then a man from a nearby table stood up, frowning. "What did you say? A little girl? Outside? Why is she with you?" The biker raised his hands. "She's not with me. I just found her crying. I'm trying to help her find her mom." The man stepped closer, voice louder now. "You expect us to believe that?" Few others stood up. One even pulled out his phone, recording. The biker felt his chest tighten. He looked around. No one believed him. He realized how this must look. A rough-looking man holding a dirty stuffed toy, talking about a little girl crying behind a building. "I just want to help," he said again, this time softer. But no one seemed to care. Outside, the wind picked up. The first drops of rain started to fall. The little girl sat still, wrapped in a jacket too big for her, waiting for the only person who had stopped to help her. And that's how the story began. One child, one biker, and a world that almost didn't stop to listen. Asterisk, the biker stood in the middle of the diner, feeling dozens of eyes staring at him. Whispers floated through the room like smoke. Some people looked concerned, but most looked suspicious. One man in a suit spoke louder than the rest. "Where is this girl you're talking about?" he asked, his arms crossed. "She's just outside," the biker said. "Behind the dumpsters. She's scared and cold." Another woman gasped, then grabbed her phone. "We should call the police right now," she said. Why would a little girl be outside with someone like him? The biker felt the weight of their stares. He held up the stuffed bunny. "She gave me this so I could prove I was telling the truth." But no one moved. No one offered to come outside and see for themselves. Instead, some customers stepped away from him. One worker walked toward the back, probably to make the call. He sighed deeply, his hands raised to show he wasn't trying to start anything. "I just need someone to help her," he said quietly. As he turned to leave, the police car lights flashed through the diner windows. Someone had already called them. 2 officers entered the diner, one male and one female, both serious and alert. "There's a report of a missing child," the male officer said. "Is that you?" The biker nodded. "I found her. She's outside, crying. I gave her my jacket and some water. I came in here to find help." The officers didn't smile. They motioned him to step aside. "Step outside with us, sir," the female officer said. He didn't argue. He just walked out with them, heart beating faster than before. The wind had grown stronger. It had started to drizzle. But as they reached the back of the building, the little girl was still there, curled up, clutching the edge of his jacket. When she saw him with the officers, she jumped up. Her eyes were red and swollen. She ran straight to him and hugged his leg tightly. "You came back," she cried. The officers froze. The biker stood still, unsure what to do. He gently touched the girl's shoulder. "Of course I did," he said softly. The little girl turned to the officers. "He helped me. He didn't hurt me. He gave me his jacket and water. I was cold and scared, and no one else helped." The male officer knelt to her level. "Do you know your mom's name?" She nodded. "I told her to wait outside, but I got scared. I tried to find her. Then I couldn't go back." The female officer looked at the biker again, her face softer now. "You stayed with her this whole time?" "I did," he said. "Didn't want to leave her alone." The radio on the male officer's shoulder beeped. A voice came through. "We have a report of a missing girl matching the description. Mother is still searching nearby. Grocery store across the street." The little girl's eyes lit up. "That's her. She went to get food." The officers nodded. The biker felt a wave of relief wash over him. But before they could say more, a woman's voice rang out from the street. "Baby, baby, where are you?" The little girl looked up. "Mom!" She ran toward the sound, and in seconds, her mother came into view, her face full of panic and tears. She dropped her shopping bags and ran faster, arms wide open. They met in the middle of the parking lot and collapsed into a hug, both crying loudly. "I thought I lost you," the woman sobbed. "I looked everywhere." The girl pointed toward the biker. "He helped me, Mom. He didn't go away. He stayed with me." The woman looked up. At first, her face was full of worry and confusion. She saw the leather jacket, the big beard, and the patches on his vest. Her eyes narrowed. Then the officer stepped forward and explained what had happened. "He found her alone and scared," the female officer said. "He gave her water, his jacket, and stayed nearby to protect her until we arrived." The mother covered her mouth. Her eyes welled up again, not from fear this time, but from guilt. She slowly walked toward him, holding her daughter's hand. "I'm sorry," she said softly. I judged you too quickly." The biker shrugged, uncomfortable. "You were scared. I get it." She wouldn't stop crying until you came back. "Thank you for not leaving her." He gave a small nod. "No thanks needed. She's just a kid. Someone had to care." People from the diner had come outside now. They were watching everything unfold. Some of the same people who had doubted him now looked at him differently. A little boy stepped forward and gave him a half-melted candy bar. "You're like a hero," he said. The biker smiled slightly and ruffled the boy's hair. The rain was falling harder now, but no one moved. Everyone stood quietly, feeling something in the air. Something warm, even in the cold. The mother held her daughter tightly, still crying as she thanked the officers. The girl clung to her and pointed again at the biker. "He stayed with me. He gave me water and his jacket. He was nice." The biker stood a little away, looking down at the wet pavement. His jacket was still wrapped around the child, soaked from the rain. He didn't expect thanks. He didn't want attention. He just wanted to make sure the little girl was safe. That was all. The mother finally walked over to him, holding her daughter's hand. Her eyes were still red, but her face was full of emotion. "I didn't know what to think when I saw her with you. I panicked." "I'm sorry I judged you," she said softly. The biker shook his head. "It's okay, I understand. Most people don't stop when they see someone like me." She looked so small. "I couldn't just leave her there." The woman wiped her eyes. "What's your name?" He hesitated. "People just call me Hawk," she smiled. "Well, Hawk, you didn't just help. My daughter, you helped me too. I'll never forget this." One of the officers stepped forward. "We'll give them a ride home. She needs to get warm and dry." Before they left, the little girl ran to him one more time. She pulled something from her tiny pocket, a sticker shaped like a star. She reached up and stuck it on the front of his leather vest. "This is for heroes," she said. He blinked a few times and nodded slowly. "Thank you." She waved as the officers led them to the police car, and soon they disappeared into the rainy street. The biker turned back to his bike, now wet and cold. He picked up his helmet and was about to leave when someone tapped him on the shoulder. It was the same waitress from the diner. Her eyes had changed, no longer full of suspicion. "I'm really sorry," she said. "We all jumped to conclusions. That was wrong." "It happens," he said calmly. "You still hungry?" she asked. "Come on, it's on the house." He looked at her, unsure. Then he nodded. "Sure." Inside, the diner felt warmer than before. Not just from the heat, but from the way people looked at him now. A few nodded. A man raised his coffee cup toward him. Another person smiled. He took a seat at the corner booth. The same man who had shouted at him earlier now walked over quietly. "Listen," the man said, scratching his neck. I was wrong. You didn't deserve how we treated you. We were just scared, but that girl's safe tonight because of you." The biker didn't say much. He just nodded. The waitress brought him a hot plate of food, eggs, toast, and steaming coffee. He hadn't realized how hungry he was until now. As he ate, a few more people approached, offering quiet thanks. One elderly woman even pressed a $10 bill into his hand. "For your kindness," she whispered. He tried to return it, but she walked away before he could. Later that night, someone posted about what happened. A woman from the diner had taken a photo from the window just as the little girl was hugging the biker's leg in the rain. She posted it on a local community page with a simple caption, "Don't judge people by what they wear. This biker saved a lost child today." The post spread like fire. People began commenting, many who had seen him around town before, but never spoke to him. Others admitted they would have walked past the girl without noticing. Some said they felt ashamed. The next morning, the photo was everywhere. It showed a big man in a dark jacket, kneeling in the rain beside a child. A tiny star sticker glowed on his vest. The moment captured something real, something people didn't expect. At the garage where he worked part-time, his co-workers teased him at first. Didn't know we had a superhero in leather around here. One joked, but then they gave him a round of applause. And he couldn't help but laugh. Even the local paper called, asking for an interview. He turned them down. "I'm not looking for attention," he told them. "I just did what anyone should do." But not everyone would have done it. That's what made it matter. Later that week, the mother and daughter returned to see him. She brought his jacket back, freshly cleaned and folded. The little girl handed him a handmade drawing. It showed a big man on a bike with a heart and a sun above him. In the drawing, he wore a sticker on his chest. "I wanted you to have this," she said shyly. He didn't know what to say. He took it, smiled, and said, "I'll hang it where I can see it." That night, he did exactly that. He pinned the drawing to the mirror on his bike, and every time he rode through town, it was there reminding him that sometimes one small act of kindness could change how people see the world. Asterisk, the drawing stayed on his bike mirror, taped gently. At the corners. Every morning before riding out, he'd glance at it. It made him smile, not just because of the cute picture, but because it reminded him of something simple. He had made a difference. A real one. The story didn't end with that rainy evening. Over the next few days, things started to change around town. At first, it was small things. Strangers nodded at him on the street. One man at the gas station offered to pay for his coffee. A little boy waved at him from a school bus, shouting, "You're the guy who helped the girl." People who once turned away when they saw him now came closer. Some just wanted to say thank you. Others shared stories how they had once been judged too, or how they wished they had the courage to help like he did. He wasn't used to this. He had spent most of his life being looked at sideways, ignored, or avoided. But now people were seeing something else. Not the leather vest, not the tattoos. They were seeing the heart underneath. A few days later, he got a phone call from the diner. The owner himself wanted to speak to him. "We're doing a small thank you event," the man said. "Just something local. We were hoping you'd stop by. Nothing fancy. Just good food and good people." The biker hesitated, as he always did, when attention was involved. But the voice on the other end sounded sincere. So he agreed. The evening of the event, the diner was packed. Tables were moved around to make space. There were balloons and a handmade sign that read, "Thank you to our local hero." He felt awkward walking in, especially as people turned to clap. He had never liked being the center of attention, but tonight, it felt different. The energy wasn't about showing off, it was about community, about kindness, about learning not to judge. The little girl was there too, dressed in a clean pink sweater and shiny shoes. She ran to him the moment she saw him and gave him a new sticker, this one shaped like a heart. "You forgot a second one," she said, giggling. He laughed and placed it next to the star on his vest. Her mother came over with a small wrapped box. "We don't have much," she said quietly, "but I wanted you to have this." Inside was a custom patch, sewn by hand. It read, "Kindness rides with me." He blinked slowly, holding it in his rough hands. "I'll wear this with pride," he said. People took pictures with him, but no one made him feel like a show. They treated him like a friend, a part of the town. And that meant more to him than any applause ever could. That night, something else happened, something he hadn't expected. A reporter from the regional paper showed up. She wasn't pushy, just honest. "I'd love to write your story," she said. "Not just what happened with the girl, but the bigger picture. People need to hear about kindness, especially now." He thought about it for a moment. He didn't like cameras. He didn't like his name being in the news. But then he looked around the diner, at the girl who trusted him, at the people who once feared him but now smiled. "All right," he nodded. "But keep it simple. I'm just a guy who stopped for a kid." The article came out 2 days later. The headline read, "Don't judge by the jacket, biker's kindness teaches a town a lesson in compassion." It went beyond their town. People from other places began commenting online. Strangers messaged the diner's page to say how the story had touched them. "I always thought bikers were scary. Not anymore. My son read your story in class. He wants to be like you. My dad cried reading this. He said it reminded him of the time someone helped him when no one else did." The biker stayed quiet through all the attention. He didn't chase it. He just kept doing what he always did, riding his bike, fixing engines, keeping to himself. But inside, something had shifted. He realized that sometimes, doing one small good thing could shine a light bigger than you ever imagined. It could warm more hearts than you'd ever know. And even if people forget your name, they won't forget how you made them feel. That was enough. The biker didn't change overnight. He still wore the same jacket, still rode the same old motorcycle, and still preferred quiet streets over busy crowds. But the way people treated him, that had changed completely. And slowly he began to accept that change. A few weeks had passed since that rainy day outside the diner. But the story hadn't faded from people's hearts. The small patch the mother gave him, "Kindness rides with me," was now stitched onto the front of his jacket, just under the star and the heart sticker the little girl had given him. He wore them all proudly, even if the colors had started to fade a bit from the weather. One morning, just as the sun was rising, he found a small envelope taped to his motorcycle seat. It had no name, just the words, "Thank you for seeing what others didn't." Inside was a short handwritten letter. It was from a man who said his own daughter had once gone missing in a different city, but no one stopped to help her. She was found safe later, but he never forgot the pain of thinking she might be alone and afraid. "Men like you," the letter read, "remind the world that we still have good people in it." The biker folded the note carefully and placed it inside his vest pocket. He didn't know who wrote it, but it meant something. More than most things people had ever said to him. Later that same week, the town decided to hold a small community fair at the local park. There were food stalls, games for kids, live music, and even a raffle. The diner owner asked him to come. "It won't be a big deal," he said, "just food and fun. But folks would be happy to see you." The biker smiled. "Only if there's pie. 2 kinds." The owner grinned. So he went. He parked his motorcycle near the sidewalk and walked into the park. People were already setting up chairs. Kids ran around with balloons. The smell of fresh popcorn and grilled food filled the air. And just like before, people came up to him, not to stare, but to say hello, to shake his hand, to tell him how much they appreciated what he did. A little girl gave him a paper flower she had made, saying, "My mommy told me you're a good man." He knelt and took the flower carefully, then gave her a small patch from his vest pocket in return, one of many he carried now just for moments like this. The patch read, "Kindness matters." But the best part of the day came later in the afternoon. As the music slowed and families sat under the shade of trees, the mayor walked onto the small wooden stage. He tapped the mic and cleared his throat. "Today we're here to enjoy good food, good music, and good company. But we also want to take a moment to recognize someone who reminded us what real kindness looks like." The biker blinked. He hadn't expected this. We often make judgments based on what we see. But a few weeks ago, one man proved that what's inside a person is what truly counts. The mayor held up a small wooden plaque. "To the man who showed us not all heroes wear uniforms, thank you." People clapped, some stood, some even cheered. And the biker, red in the face, slowly made his way to the stage. The little girl he had helped ran up beside him and held his hand as they walked together. He took the plaque, nodded slowly, and spoke just one sentence into the mic. "I didn't help her because I wanted to thank you. I helped her because she needed someone. The crowd was quiet for a moment. Then the applause returned stronger, warmer, that evening. As the sun went down and people packed up their chairs, he sat on his motorcycle, holding the drawing she gave him one more time. It had gotten a little crumpled, but the heart and the little smiling biker were still there. He looked around the park, families laughing, kids playing, strangers becoming neighbors. He didn't feel like an outsider anymore. Before starting the engine, he gently stuck the new paper flower into the space next to the drawing. It didn't match. It wasn't perfect. But it was real. And that made it beautiful. As he rode off into the sunset, the wind carried the sounds of joy behind him. He wasn't chasing glory. He wasn't chasing fame. He had simply stopped to help. And in doing so, he changed how an entire town saw the world, and maybe how they would treat the next stranger in need. Because sometimes, the smallest act of kindness leaves the biggest mark.